वासुदेवाय ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय ओम अज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूप कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरुं श्रीयुतपदकमलं श्रीगुरुं वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सगुणरघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधाकृष्णपादान् सगणललिता शिविशाखान्वितंश्च हे कृष्णा करुणा सिन्धो दीनबन्धो जगत्पदे गोपेश गोपिकान्त राधाकान्त नमोऽस्तुते तप्त काञ्चन गौराङ्गी राधे वृन्दावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्येव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिनिति नामिने नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौर भक्त वृंदा हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। वैराग्य विद्या निज भक्ति योगा शिक्षार्थमेक पुरुष पुराणाम श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य शरीरधारी कृपां पुदेर्यस्तमहं प्रपद्ये पंचतत्वात्मकं कृष्णं भक्तरूप स्वरूपकं भक्तावतारं भक्ताख्यं नमामि भक्तशक्तिकम्। जय जय श्री चैतन्य जय नित्यानंद जय द्वैत चंद्र जय गौर भक्त वृंदा जय जय श्री चैतन्य जय नित्यानंद जय द्वैत चंद्र जय गौर भक्त वृंदा जय जय श्री चैतन्य जय नित्यानंद जय द्वैत चंद्र जय गौर भक्त वृंदा। हरे कृष्णा हरि ओम तत्सत। So welcome all the devotees for today's teachings of Lord Chaitanya class. So we will continue reading chapter 3, right?
Yes,
Okay,
Prabhuji.
yeah. So we'll just read from this sloka. Ekadesha sita syagne jorshana visarini yatha parasya brahmana shakti sathedam akhilam jagat. Everything manifested within this cosmic world is but the energy of the Supreme Lord. As fire situated in one place spreads its illumination and heat all around, so the Lord, although situated in one place in the spiritual world, manifests his different energies everywhere. Indeed, the whole cosmic creation is but a manifestation of his various energies. The Lord Chaitanya continued, citing the Vishnu Puranas 6.7.61. Supreme Lord's original energy is transcendental and spiritual, and the living entities are part and parcel of that energy. There is a third category, however, called the marginal energy, which is covered by the cloud of ignorance. This energy, which is material nature, is divided into three modes or gunas: goodness, passion, and ignorance. Lord Chaitanya then quoted another verse from Vishnu Purana 1.3.2 to the effect that all inconceivable energies reside in the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and that the whole cosmic manifestation acts due to those energies. So here Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is teaching Sanatana Goswami that are, broadly there are three types of energies: Antaranga Shakti, Bahiranga Shakti, and Tathastha Shakti. So all the living entities come under the category of Tathastha Shakti, and they are, coming under the influence of the material nature. Okay, that's why we have got this body. Okay, so although our soul is Sanatana, having all the transcendental qualities, but the body in which we are situated is having the gross matter, and it is under the influence of three gunas, that is goodness, passion, and ignorance. But however, all these qualities, all these energies, everything is residing in the Supreme Personality of Godhead. It's a manifestation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So the Lord also said that the living entity is not as Kshetrajna, or the knower of the field of activities. This is confirmed in the 13th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, where Krishna describes the body as a field of activities and the living entities is as Kshetrajna. So in Bhagavad Gita regarding this Kshetra, Kshetrajna, all these things are clearly and very nicely explained. Although the living entity is constitutionally conversant with the spiritual energy or has the potency to understand it, he is covered by the material energy and consequently believes himself to the body. This false identification is called false ego. Deluded by the false ego, that bewildered living entity in material existence passes through different bodies and suffers various kinds of miseries. Knowing of the living entity's true position is possessed to different extents by different types of living entities. We can very well understand this. Okay, when we identify our possessions, as ours, you know then we think that there is no difference. We think that that possession is me only. For example, suppose we buy a very new brand car, very costly car, somebody scratches on that, how feel that it is as good as a scratch on our body, isn't it? Because similarly we are identifying, although we are spirit soul, we are separate from this body, we identify with our body. Just like how we identify our new brand car, costly car with the car, okay, and something happens to the car, it is as good as happened directly to me. Similarly, we also identify our body as me. That is the reason this attachment. So that's what here it is mentioned here. So in other words, it is to be understood that the living entity is part and parcel of the spiritual energy of Supreme Lord. Because the material energy is inferior, man has the ability to get free from the covering of this material energy and utilize the spiritual energy. So although we are the superior energy of the Supreme Lord, that is, we are coming under margin energy, we are Satchidananda, and the inferior energy, the material nature is inferior energy. Although the material energy is inferior energy, sometimes because of the attachment we come under the clutches of that material energy. But however, we have the ability to get free from the covering of this material energy because we are superior, provided we exercise that superior nature. Otherwise it's not possible. Otherwise we'll come under the subjugation of inferior material nature. So we have to exercise that energy, our that real nature, then it is possible. Otherwise we'll come under the external energy called Maya. It is stated in the Bhagavad Gita that in the conditioned state, the superior energy, the living entity, is covered by the inferior energy. Just like our Atma is covered by the body, because Atma is superior energy and the body is inferior energy. Due to this covering, the living entity is subjected to the miseries of the material world, and in proportion to how much he is covered, suffers material miseries. So this is the proportion. To what extent we are covered with the material energy, to that extent we will suffer in this material world. To what extent we are free from this material energy, to that extent we can enjoy freedom. Okay, we will not, we will not suffer at all in this material world. So if that is the position of a liberated person, because although he is in this material body, he knows that this body is not him. He is different from the body, and he will do all the activities on that platform. That means he is liberated. So those who are a little enlightened suffer less, but on the whole, everyone is subjected to material miseries due to being covered by the material energy. So basically, almost all of us are suffering the material miseries because of this delusion that we are having. That is, that we are the body, everything belongs to me. This name, fame, possessions, all these things, so all mine. We identify with those. That is why we are suffering materially. Now, when we are liberated, when we know that this is not me, this is just a covering, and which is matter. When we practice Krishna consciousness on that platform, that is called Vijnana. Now we have Jnana, because what is Jnana? That I know that I am not this body, I am the soul. I am having a superior part and parcel of the Supreme Lord. But when we come to that realization, then I have the real knowledge. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also quoted from the 7th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, in which it is stated that earth, water, fire, air, ether, mind, intelligence, and false ego all combine to form the inferior energy of the Supreme Lord. Okay, so what is that slogan? Bhumirapo analo vayu kammano buddhirevacha ahankara idiyame bhinna prakriti darshada. So, but the superior energy is the real entity of the living being. And it is because of that energy that the whole material world functions. The cosmic manifestation, which is made of the material elements, has no power to act unless it is moved by the superior energy, the living energy. So the whole material world is working because there is a living force, because there is a superior energy by which it is running. So that's the reason when all these universes are created by the Supreme Lord, by his glance, he also enters into that. Without his entering, it will have no force, real force, isn't it? Similarly, we are also moving because of the presence of the spirit soul inside. Otherwise, this is a dead matter. It has no value at all. So the conditioned living entity is due to forgetfulness of his relationship with the Supreme Lord in the superior energy. When that relationship is forgotten, conditioned life is the result. Only when a man revives his real identity as the eternal servitor to the Lord does he become liberated. So when we come to this understanding that we are the part and parcel, and we have to revive that, okay, and practice it on that platform, then we are on the liberated stage, Brahma Bodha Prasannatma. So this is this particular chapter, teachings to Sanatana. Very, very briefly only it is given, because Chaitanya Charitamrita, it has been given very elaborately. So any points or any comments? Any comments or any questions? Otherwise, we'll go to the next chapter. Okay, we'll go to the next chapter, chapter 4, the wise man. Okay. Since no one can trace the history of the living entity's entanglement in material energy, Lord Chaitanya said that it is beginningless. Can anyone say when did we start this journey in this material world? Is there any point that we have started? Yes, from this point, from this time. Can anyone say that? Yes, Rupeshri Mataji. When did you start your journey? You are on mute, Mataji.
No, Prabhuji. No idea. Only Krishna knows.
How many lives you have taken? And which all forms? No idea.
No idea.
It's very difficult. How many lives, how many millions of lives we have taken, how many millions of forms we have taken, and how many universes we have been through. We don't know. That's why Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says it is beginningless. Because we cannot fathom, we cannot make out when we have started this journey. Okay. It's time, that's why it is called time immemorial. So he meant that conditioned life exists prior to creation. So this particular creation, not just that, in this particular creation of this universe, our journey started in the material world. Not even that. He meant that conditioned life exists prior to the creation. It simply becomes manifest during and after the creation. Okay, so it simply becomes manifest during and after the creation. Okay, so this is a cycle that keeps going. During the creation, according to our past deeds and desire, we are there. Once it is annihilated, we are again into just vacuum or in dormant stage. Again it is manifested, again coming back in different universes, different planets, and continue our journey. It's like that. So this is very difficult. So that's why it is called beginningless. Due to forgetfulness of its real nature, the living entity, although spirit, suffers all kinds of miseries in the material existence. When we leave the body, see, our a particular type of character we have, a particular type of desires we have, and particular type of uh, and that working nature we have. So all these things are taken into consideration, and everything is there coded into our this thing mind as zip file. So when we leave this body and we take another body, what happens? This, all the desires, the plannings, the hankerings, the lamentations, everything is there in the as impression in our mind. So that surfaces at conducive time. That's why we have a particular character. We have a particular character. We behave in a particular way. Yes, whether this can be changed, can we change this? These settings can be changed or not? Can this be reprogrammed? We have programmed in a particular way. That's why we are behaving in a particular way because of that particular programming. Can this be deprogrammed and reprogrammed again in a different way? Parvati Mataji, can this be deprogrammed and programmed in a new way? Because now we have a particular set of thoughts, ideas, plannings, which we have been taking from time immemorial from our past lives. I want to change this. Is it possible or not?
From my experience, it can be changed to a certain extent, not more than that. I don't know if it is possible more than that.
No, no, no. I'm not telling your capacity or my capacity. Is it possible to change completely? The capacity, each person has a different capacity. I know that. You
Capacity.
know, is it?
I
Is it?
don't think it is possible to change the entire thing.
Then what is the hope of deliverance?
The only hope is to remain detached from these things and go back to Godhead.
No, that's what I'm telling. So if we cannot change the course which we are traveling,
Hmm.
no, then how can we get delivered from this material world?
We
We
can
have to
only
change ourselves. We
we
have
can
to change.
we can change ourselves. We can change the thoughts that we are having, so that what we can do is we can go into the path of devotional service, and
Yeah,
slowly and gradually these impurities will go away from us.
yeah,
We cannot change them, they will go away from us.
yeah,
So we can change ourselves and take to the path of God, back to Godhead.
yeah.
That
So
we can.
that means we can change totally.
Yeah, we can change.
Yeah. That means we can change. So
Yes.
there is a hope. It's not that we cannot, that we have to go with the same flow. No, we can change provided we take this seriously. Provided we take this serious in the sense we have to have the association, constant association. We should have the constant hammering from the saintly personalities through books, by reading, by listening, by associating, all these so many ways. And we have to change for better. Our that usual character, habits, swabhava, whatever it is, everything we have to change. Then we can get liberated from this material world. Only then. But when we so what Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is teaching Sanatana Goswami, but when we have started this journey, it is not possible for anyone to know. That's why it is said that it is beginningless. So it is possible. Suppose now, for example, a person is having a bad habit of, say, drinking liquor. Okay, he has been drinking liquor from many years. Is addicted, totally addicted. Can that be changed? Yes, it can be changed. We can reform that person, but a cooperation from that person is required. His determination is required. His willingness is required. If he doesn't cooperate, then it is not possible. I don't want to change myself, then it is not possible. I want to change, others are there ready to help me, then it is possible. So that is how here also I want to change. I know I have so many flaws, so many bad qualities. I want to change, and there are devotees to help me out in that process. Definitely I can change. So it is to be understood that there are also living entities who are not entangled in the material energy but are situated in the spiritual world. So as we know from Bhagavad Gita, Ekam Shena Siddho Jagat. This Jagat, this material universe is, there manifested with a fragmental part of the energy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The rest is in the spiritual world. They are called, so those who are in the spiritual world are called liberated souls and are always engaged in Krishna consciousness, devotional service. So those who are, just like we can take an example of a country. Okay, in the country there are so many citizens, millions and millions of citizens. Let us take this, this country UAE where we are staying now. So around 9 million people are there. 9 to 10 million people are there. How many are there in the jail? 100,000, 200,000, 300,000, not more than that, right? So very fragmental portion of that population is there in the jail. Okay, they are not liberated. The people outside, like all of us, are now liberated stage. Those who are in the jail are in the conditioned stage because they don't have freedom. Similarly, in the material world is a fragmental part of the whole creation. So the whole creation, if it is 100%, a small portion is only the material creation. So most of the living entities are in the spiritual world. They're all liberated, and those who are in the material world are called conditioned. So the activities of those who are conditioned by material nature are taken into account, and in their next life, according to these activities, they are offered different grades of material bodies. See how clear it is. The activities of those who are conditioned by material nature are taken into account. So what activities are we doing? That is taken into account. That is accounted. And accordingly, in their next life, they will get different grades of material bodies. Just like in a company, how you are performing, accordingly you will be appraised. You will be given, perks and benefits and salary increase and other things. So thus, in the material world, the conditioned spirit soul is subjected to various rewards and punishment. Just like when we behave, as a good citizen, we are obedient to the laws of the country, will be awarded. Just like last time, our Manoj Prabhu was followed by the police car, stopped him and gave him a certificate. You are a good driver. When as law obedient citizen is appreciated and award, but the person who is going against the laws of the country will be punished. So here also like that. So the conditioned spirit soul is subjected to various rewards and punishment according to the activity that performing in this material world. Good activity, good rewards. Bad activity, bad rewards. That is it. Bad, and that means bad, not bad rewards, it is punishment. When he is rewarded for his righteous activities, he is elevated to the higher planets, where he becomes one of many demigods. And when he is punished for his abominable activities, he is thrown into various hellish planets, where he suffers the miseries of material existence more acutely. So the result is that pious activity means elevation to the higher planet system. Impious activities means degradation to the lower hellish planets. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gives a very nice example of this punishment. Formerly, A king used to punish a criminal by having him drunk in a river, raised up again for breath, and then again dunked in the water. So the punishment, the previous ages, the king used to give, how the person is taken to the river and is dunked into the river after some time, because he will get suffocated. He will be shouting for breath. That time he will just pulling off, at just a fraction of a second. Again, he is pushed down into the water. So this is, just imagine what will be our situation if we are putting like that. So this is the punishment they used to give in the the Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is giving an example. So raise up again for breath and then again dunked in the water. Material nature punishes and rewards the individual living entity in just the same way. Okay. So when we have lot of impious uh, reactions, our punishment is also, we will get lot of miseries in between a fraction of sukha, chapala sukha. You'll get a chapala sukha, I mean fraction of second sukha. Then again miseries. Then again, fraction of second sukha. Then again miseries. So happiness is just, a gap between two miseries. That's it. Depending upon what activities we are doing. Of course, if you are doing pious activities, we'll be elevated, we'll be enjoying. But if you are doing impious activities, sinful activities, will be punished and sent down to the lower planets for punishment again and again. Elevation to the higher planets or to a higher status of life on this planet is never permanent. However, what Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, these are all temporary. So whether you are doing pious activities or impious activities, whether you are rewarded or whether you are punished, these are all temporary. This cycle keeps going. Okay. One must again come down to be submerged in the water. All this is constantly going on in the material existence. Sometimes one is elevated to higher planetary system. Sometimes one is thrown into hellish condition of material life. So the cycle of traveling from lower, middle, higher planetary through lower, higher, middle planetary system is going on and on and on according to the activities that we are performing in this material world. So in this regard, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu recited a nice verse from Srimad Bhagavatam 11.2.37. That is a part of the instructions of Narada Muni to Vasudeva, the father of Krishna. Bhayam didiyabhinivesha tasyad ishad apetasya viparyayo smriti tanmayayato buddha abhajetam bhaktya kayesham gurudevatatma. In this verse, which Narada Muni quotes from the instructions that the 9 Yogendras imparted to Maharaja Nimi, Maya is defined as forgetfulness of one's relationship with Krishna. So this is, one type of definition given to Maya. What is that? Forgetfulness of one's relationship with Krishna is called Maya. Actually, Maya means that which is not. Thus, it is false to think that the living entity has no connection with the Supreme Lord. He may not believe in the existence of God, or he may think he has no relationship with God, but these ideas are all illusions. So this is also called Maya or Maya. Due to absorption in this false conception of life, a man is always fearful and full of anxieties. In other words, Maya is the godless concept of life. One who is actually learned in the Vedic literature surrenders into the Supreme Lord with great devotion and accepts him as supreme goal. When a living entity forgets the constitutional nature of his relationship with God, he is at once overwhelmed by the external energy. This is the cause of his false ego, his false identification of the body with the self. Indeed, his whole conception of the material universe arises from this false identification with the body, for he becomes attached to the body and its byproducts. To escape the entanglement, he has only to perform his duty, namely to surrender unto the Supreme Lord with intelligence, devotion, and with sincere Krishna consciousness. So we are all entangled in this material world because of this wrong conception, because we are, under the clutches of Maya, thinking ourselves, this body to be the self, and the belonging of the body to be mine or to be ours. So we are entangled like that in this material world. Unless until we come out of this so-called imagination of bodies, myself, the extension of the body is mine, we are under the subjugation of Maya only. So we have to come slowly to escape this entanglement. He has to perform his duty, namely to surrender unto the Supreme Lord with intelligence, with devotion, and with sincere Krishna consciousness. So the only way out is to surrender totally, accept his authority, and live a life that is in accordance with the instruction given by the Supreme Lord in various scriptures like Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, like that. So this is the only way, otherwise it's not possible. So slowly and gradually, by the mercy of Sri Sri Guru and Gauranga, we're all on the right path. We are trying our level best to understand our position and behave in such a way that we are coming out of Maya sooner or later. So this is our desire. All those who are practicing Krishna consciousness, one day, today, or tomorrow, we will attain that for sure. Just like we all have boarded the train, we know the destination. Okay, suppose our destination is, say, from Abu Dhabi to Dubai. Okay, we want to go to Dubai from Abu Dhabi, and we have boarded the train. Okay. And will we get down in between if we know the destination? We don't, because we know we have to get down in Dubai. That is our destination. So we want, whatever happens, we want to reach. That is a. Similarly, we have boarded the train. Our destination is Goloka Vrindavana. So we will continue the journey till we reach our destination, final destination, that is Goloka Vrindavana. In between, we should not get down, especially when we are traveling by train in India, from South India to North India. Those who are traveling, those who have traveled in train by train from Kerala to Chennai or Bombay or Delhi, Calcutta, we know that in between so many station comes, and so many food items will be selling on the platform. Kites are the vada, sambar, this, that, so many fruits. People get enamored and people get attracted by that, and they will get down. The train may be stopping some few minutes, 2 minutes, 3 minutes, okay, and they are buying or bargaining. In that process, the train moves. What happened? We miss the train. Then we have to make all other arrangements to go. Similarly, we should not make the mistake of getting down in between, or in other words, stopping this practice. Whatever happens, we have to continue this practice so that finally we reach the destination. So this is what is required. So a conditioned soul falsely thinks himself happy in the material world, but if he is favored by an unalloyed devotee, if he hears the unalloyed devotee's instruction, he gives up his desire for material enjoyment, becomes enlightened in Krishna consciousness. So this is what is required. Because on our own, it is not possible. We need guidance. We need help from other devotees. Because why we need help? Why we cannot do ourselves? Because we have been carrying this from time immemorial. It's very difficult to get rid of that. So we need chastisement, we need guidance, we need what you call proper instruction, and very nicely we need to be nurtured by the senior devotees. Then only it is possible. We cannot say that I will do it. Yes, we should have the determination, but never alone. Prabhupada always says, one stick, it is easy to break. If it is a bunch of stick, you cannot break it. So if you are in one stick in that bunch, we will not be broken into pieces. So all of us should be one stick in that whole bunch of sticks. Don't travel alone. Don't try to attain anything alone, especially spirituality. Tamal Krishna Goswami Maharaj asked Srila Prabhupada, why do we need association? You have given us enough. You have given us Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, Chaitanya Charitamrita, everything is there. Instruction is there. Everything is there. Why can't we read and become a pure devotee? So Prabhupada just caught hold of his hand and twisted and asked, who will do this to you? If you go wrong, okay, the book will not take your hand and twist, isn't it? Or in other words, chastisement, correction, all these things who will do? You may take it in a wrong way. Your interpretation by reading the books may be something wrong. So if you are in the association of devotees, if you do something wrong, if you are going on a wrong path, you will be corrected by the devotees, by your senior devotees. So books alone is not enough. You should have the association, whereby you will be chastised, you will be corrected, you will be guided properly. So if you are not having association, there is a high risk of misinterpreting the way you want. Okay, this like that, let me do this. And not only that, if there is nobody to supervise, what will happen? We'll take it lightly. There's nobody to take care of us, then we'll, okay, tomorrow, we will procrastinate and will not do anything. So these are all the, risk factors that we may run, especially those who are in the age of Kali, all of us, we, because of this disqualification that we all have. What are those disqualification? Prayana alpayasha sabhya kalo asmin yuge janaha mandaha sumandamadayo mandabhagya upadrata. So because we have this in the age of Kali in great degree, manda, mandabhagya, ubhadradha, okay, all these things we have in great degree. So we need real help from others. In the other ages like Satya Yuga and Treta Yuga, still okay. People could do it. They were intelligent. They were long lived. They were, not lazy. They were doing all that, dhyana and all, so many years they were doing. But in the age of Kali, we don't have those qualities. That's why we need help from others. So conditioned soul falsely thinks himself happy in the material world. But if he is favored by an unalloyed devotee, if he hears the unalloyed devotee's instruction, he gives up the desire for material enjoyment and becomes enlightened in Krishna consciousness. As soon as one enters into Krishna consciousness, his desire for material enjoyment is at once vanquished, and he gradually becomes free from material entanglement. There is no question of darkness where there is light, and Krishna consciousness is the light that dispels the darkness of material sense enjoyment. Okay. Where there is sun, there is no darkness. Where there is knowledge, there is no ignorance. So a Krishna conscious person is never under the false conception that he is one with God, knowing that he would not be happy working for himself. He engages all his energies in the service of the Supreme Lord and thereby gains release from the clutches of the illusory material energy. In this connection, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu quoted a verse from Bhagavad Gita where Krishna states, Devi hi esha gunamaye mama maya durataya mam eva ye prabhadyande mayam etam taranti de. It's a beautiful verse. What it says? My material energy, composed of the three modes of material nature, is very strong. It is very difficult to escape the clutches of the material energy. But one who surrenders unto me is easily freed from the clutches of Maya. Can anyone give a very simple example that Maya is very strong? How we are so much addicted, attached, forget ourselves. Any example that comes in mind? It's very difficult to cross over this material energy or in this material. Can anyone share some simple example or any example that comes to your mind? How we get or how we come under the clutches of Maya, even though we know that we are getting entangled in Maya. We know it very well, but still we come under the subjugation of Maya. Can anyone give some example?
Hare
Parag
Krishna
Prabhu?
Prabhu. Hare Krishna Prabhu. Dandavat Pranam.
Kapil Prabhu, yes, Danda Pranam.
Yeah, Prabhuji, like this, we know that we don't need much like money for survival and doing the stuff, but still we desire to earn more and more money. Somehow it is difficult to, come out of that desire.
Yes. And we keep justifying the earning, right?
Yeah, correct, Prabhu.
Okay. Good, Prabhuji. Any other example, Parag Prabhu?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, to collecting unnecessary knowledge about the physical world instead of getting knowledge about Puranas and scriptures, we are collecting all other unnecessary knowledge and wasting our time also.
Yeah, that's right, Prabhuji. Good. Any other points, other devotees? Just brainstorming so that, we are all, we know where we go wrong. Yeah, what about eatables, prasadam? In the name of prasadam, we also so many items and try to fill our belly and sense gratification, isn't it? That's also one way of justification. And some who are having some diseases like diabetes or this and the BP or anything, they will also justify. Okay, no problem. I will have this sweet, then I will take the medicine. These are all, because the Maya is capturing us like anything. We cannot move. And the mind is such a tricky thing, it is trying to convince us, the soul. Mind is overpowering the soul also. What happened? If we eat one rasgulla, what happens? It's not a big deal, isn't it? Then tomorrow also, there's one, only one. So it keeps adding. So like that, so many, so we are coming under Maya's influence. So like that in the material world, we get stuck. So there should be somebody to control us, isn't it? Somebody to control us. So when we are alone, it's very difficult. So even when we are even in at home in a family, somebody is sick, there should be proper diet. If that person is left alone to eat of his own choice, he'll be eating anything and everything. But there is somebody to control, take care of that person. Don't eat this, don't eat that, give the proper food, then he'll be controlling. Otherwise, the mind will cheat us. It's okay, one time what will happen? Just like somebody telling, if I see one movie, will the sky fall down? So like that, so we will have justification for each and everything. It's not that if we see one movie, something will happen, but then that, our consciousness will get affected, in a very subtle way, which we will not know. Because now, for example, seeing movies, we have seen many movies, we may be still seeing movies. So if we will get those thoughts, those songs, especially those favorite songs, and some situation comes, we'll be murmuring in our own mind that particular song, this and that, because this is that we are carrying forward. Yes, Parag Prabhu, you wanted to say something?
Prabhuji, this is Man consider Maya as a mother and goes toward that side, but he should know the Supreme Personality God as a father is more important than the mother. So Man as a byproduct of Maya.
Because when if you are inclined towards the Supreme Personality God as Supreme Father, Maya will help us. If we are not inclined, Maya will not help us. Maya, okay, be here. Okay, be under my control. I also want some devotees, no? Just 1 second, Prabhuji, 1 second. So, yes, so this is Maya. Maya, Maya also wants disciples for herself. So those who are not inclined to go to Krishna, she will keep. She is ready to keep. And will be kicked from left, right, and center. Those who are not inclined to go to Krishna. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu went on to teach that each and every moment the conditioned soul is engaged in some fruitive activity. He forgets his real identity. Sometimes when he is tired of material activities, he wants liberation and hankers to become one with the Supreme. Okay. But at the other times, he thinks that by working hard to gratify senses, he will be happy. In both cases, he is covered by the material energy. So even merging into the Supreme Personality of Godhead's effulgence, okay, to become one with the Supreme, and enjoying his senses, both are covered by material energy. That's what Rupa Goswami says. For the enlightenment of such bewildered conditioned souls who are working under a false identification, Supreme Lord has presented us with voluminous Vedic literature, including the Vedas, the Puranas, and the Vedanta Sutra. These are all intended to guide the human being back to Godhead. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu further explained that when a conditioned soul is accepted by a spiritual master out of his mercy and is guided by super soul can take advantage of the various Vedic scriptures, become enlightened, and make progress in spiritual realization. So this shows the importance of taking initiation, Diksha, okay, coming under proper bona fide sampradaya. Okay, when we take shelter of a spiritual master, bona fide spiritual master, we are instructed and guided by him and by the super soul. So by the two gurus mainly, that is by Chaitya Guru, and that is who is there within, and from without the Diksha Guru or Siksha Guru. Okay, so they will be guided by the gurus to go in the right path for spiritual realization. It is because Lord Krishna is always merciful to his devotees that he has presented all this Vedic literature by which one can understand his relationship with him and can act on the basis of that relationship. In this way, one is gifted with the ultimate goal of life. Okay. So, by the mercy of gurus, Chaitya Guru and Diksha Guru or Siksha Guru, we are guided properly and we can attain the ultimate goal of life. And that is what Rupa Goswami was also instructed by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Brahmanda Brahmide Kona Bhagyavan Jeev Guru Krishna Prasade Paya Bhakti Rata Beej. Okay, so by Guru and Krishna. So Krishna is also there as a Chaitya Guru, right? As Paramatma. And he is also present as an external Guru, that is our Diksha Guru. So by their mercy, we can go back home, back to Godhead. Actually, every living entity is destined to understand his relationship with the Supreme Lord and ultimately to reach him. The execution of duties to attain this perfection is known as devotional service. And in maturity, such devotional service becomes love of God, the true goal of life for every living being. The living entity should not desire success in religious rituals, economic development, or sense enjoyment, or even liberation. So the living entity, usually in the material world, people are after this purusharthas, dharma, artha, kama, moksha. Okay, so that we should avoid. Of course, to start with, we'll do that, but we should know what is the ultimate goal of life. Dharma, artha, kama, moksha is okay. It is there given in the Vedic literatures, but that is not the ultimate goal. Ultimate goal is devotional service. Ultimate goal is devotional service, Krishna Prema. So one should desire only to achieve the stage of trance and loving service to the Lord. So this is the topmost instruction that is giving. The topmost instruction by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to Rupa Goswami, Sanatana Goswami is that, what is the ultimate destination or ultimate perfection? Transcendental loving service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. That is the ultimate desire that we should have. So the all attractive features of Lord Krishna help one attain the stage of pure devotional service, and one who engages in the preliminary practices of Krishna consciousness can ultimately realize the relationship between himself and Krishna. We can finish this. I think we can finish this, right? In this connection, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu related a story from Srila Madhvacharya's commentary on the 5th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. Okay, that is, this story involves the instructions of an astrologer, Sarvatnya, to a poor man who came to him to have his future told. Astrologer, he went to astrologers to see his future. When the astrologer saw the man's horoscope, he was astonished that the man was so poor, and he said to him, "Why are you so unhappy? From your horoscope, I can see that you have hidden a treasure left to you by your father. However, the horoscope indicates that your father could not disclose this to you because he died in a foreign place. But now you can search out this treasure and be happy." This story is cited because the living entity is suffering due to his ignorance of the hidden treasure of the Supreme Father Krishna. That treasure is love of Godhead. And in every Vedic scripture, the conditioned soul is advised to find it. As stated in Bhagavad Gita, although the conditioned soul is the son of the wealthiest personality, the personality of Godhead, he does not realize it. Therefore, the Vedic literature is given to him to help him search out his father and his paternal property. So we are all son of a very, very, very richest personality, which we have forgotten. Just the astrologer said, "Why you are unhappy? Your father has left, so much of wealth, which you don't know, because he died in a foreign place. He could not reveal that place." Similarly, we are also wandering in this material world, not knowing whose son are we, whose children are we. When we know that we are the children of that Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is having all the opulence, all the wealth, all the beauty, all other, that is opulences, then we'll be always happy. But unfortunately, we don't know who our Supreme Father is now. So this is the, the story that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu told Sanatana Goswami. So we should know that we belong to that spiritual world, and our Supreme Father is the wealthiest person and the most opulent person, or opulent father. Then we'll be very happy. The astrologer further advised the poor man, "Don't dig on the southern side of your house to find the treasure, for if you do so, you will be attacked by a poisonous wasp and will be baffled in your efforts to find the treasure." So where to find out? The astrologer is telling now where to find out this wealth. So he is telling, don't dig in the southern side because there is a very poisonous wasp. Then you will be baffled in that efforts. Search on the eastern side where there is actual light, which is devotional service or Krishna consciousness. On the southern side, there are Vedic rituals. On the western side, there is mental speculation. And the northern side, there is meditational yoga. So what Chaitanya Mahaprabhu wants to instruct Sanatana Goswami is that don't go for Karma Yoga, Dhyana Yoga, Jnana Yoga. Go for Bhakti Yoga. The eastern side, that is devotional service. The astrologer's advice should be carefully noted by everyone. If one searches for the ultimate goal by the Vedic ritualistic process, he will surely be baffled. Such a process involves the performance of rituals and the guidance of the priest who takes money in exchange for service. Man may think he will be happy by performing such rituals, but this is not true. Even if he does gain some result from them, it's only temporary. His material distresses will continue. So the dharma, so it's called ritualistic activities, may give you some solace, some temporary benefit, but you will not attain the ultimate perfection. The same may be said for digging on the northern side or searching. Sorry, where we have this material distress will not. So he will never become truly happy by following the ritualistic process. Instead, his material pangs will increase more and more. The same may be said for digging on the northern side or searching for the treasures of love of Godhead by means of that meditational yoga process. the perfection of this process is to think oneself one with the Supreme Lord. So that yoga, dhyana yoga system is also not good, because we tend to believe that we are becoming one with the Lord. That's also wrong. But this merging into the Supreme Lord is like being swallowed by a large serpent. Sometimes a small serpent is swallowed by a large serpent, and merging into the spiritual existence of Supreme is analogous. While the small serpent is searching after perfection, he is swallowed. This is spiritual suicide. So merging, or the intention to merge with the Supreme effulgence, is like spiritual suicide. On the western side, there is also an impediment in the form of Yaksha, an evil spirit who protects the treasure. This Yaksha is Jnana Yoga, the speculative process of self-realization. The idea is that a hidden treasure can never be found by one who asks the favor of Yaksha to attain it. The result is that one will simply be killed. So while the yogis practicing meditation like a small serpent being swallowed by a large serpent, practicing the speculative process to attain the treasure of love of Godhead is also suicidal. The only possibility then is to search for the hidden treasure on the eastern side, which represents the process of devotional service in full Krishna consciousness. Indeed, the process of devotional service is itself the perpetual hidden treasure, and one who attains to it becomes perpetually rich. One who is poor in devotional service to Krishna is always in need of material gain. Sometimes he suffers the bites of poisonous creatures and is baffled, and sometimes he follows the philosophy of monism and thereby loses his identity and is swallowed by a large serpent. It is only by abandoning all this and becoming fixed in Krishna consciousness, devotional service to the Lord, that one can actually achieve the perfection of life. So, through this analogy, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is teaching Sanatana Goswami to dig at the right direction, to follow the right path, that is devotional service or bhakti yoga. So all other paths, you may have some benefit, but it is risky, because you will not get the ultimate destination. You will not reach the ultimate destination of human life. So don't go after the ritualistic activities, karma yoga or dhyana yoga or jnana yoga, but take the bhakti yoga mark, which is by which we will attain perfection and will get to the right destination. This is what we understand from the teachings of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to Sanatana Goswami. It's a brief, very brief. Now, this is wise man. Okay. This is the top, the caption is wise man.